Hey there, this is the Bringing Business to Retail podcast coming to you live from the NRF podcast booth at the big show in New York. Yay! And I have the amazing Jane from Shopo, who is going to tell you how she has managed to grow her online fashion business, which is based in Sydney, to $60 million in around about 8 years. Mm-hmm. All right, okay. So tell us a little bit about Shopo. What is it that you actually sell?
So Shopo is an online store. We're pure play, which means we only sell online and we sell women's fashion. So when we first started, it was mainly party dresses, and we started to expand into separates, and now we're doing we're doing extended sizes. We do like festival wear, occasional wear. We do so many exciting product launches, shoes, accessories, footwear. So anything that a girl wants to wear.
And is your main target millennials?
Yes, I think so. I mean, the thing is, when I first started, we had a more narrow 16 to 26 age target, but then as I started to edge out of that, I just keep expanding it. So
as you started to grow, the business started to grow. So this is not your first rodeo, though, is it? This is not your first foray into the entrepreneurial world.
No.
And I really think it's important for people to understand that you have a really successful business, but it hasn't always been that way.
Yeah,
so tell
correct.
us a little bit about how you have managed to, how did the business start out? And in fact, what was the pre-business before this business?
Yeah, so the business that I had before was, we ran, sorry, I've kind of lost my voice last night.
She's been partying way too hard, courtside.
We were courtside at a Brooklyn Nets game, and then I was just, cheering, well, this sounds so lame.
I know, but as a trooper, she has turned up here live at the show at 10 a.m. to be able to talk to you guys.
It's slightly husky. It's kind of like, I kind of like it.
It's like in Friends.
Yeah.
When Phoebe, she got the cold. She got a really sexy voice. Okay, the story.
Sorry, I digress. Okay, so the first business, we ran pop-up stores. These pop-up stores stocked emerging labels. So, I've seen that other versions that have, since then succeeded, but I think we had just a terrible business model, and I think so we thought we'd do it differently. So think of like a market store where everyone has their own stalls, and the business gets the fee of the stall holders.
Yes. There's actually a business that does that here in New York, and I saw her.
Bulletin, right?
Bulletin,
yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
they've taken your concept and made it.
And
they've made it viable.
Well, the thing is, that's the original concept, and so we try. Because Fringe Bar Markets did it too, and if you think about Bondi Markets, that's essentially kind of. Oh, I think. Yes. No. Actually, no. She is doing the concepts that we are doing. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. We're confusing you. I'll tell you what went wrong with us. So. We looked at the Fringe Bar market, or even just any market. We thought we would take a retailer's commission, so we would sell it on consignment, and we would just take 50%. That's the number we went with, 50% of the sales, and that meant more of an upside if we made a lot of sales. And then we're like, this is great. We're doing a new concept, and we're going to make it work. And then we realized that it didn't work because we didn't a lot of the products, a lot of this emerging designers didn't sell, and that's why no one else had a business idea.
No one was buying their product.
No, but that's why the business idea never wasn't done by anyone else, because it's not viable. It's crap, So I think that's the biggest lesson I learned. If the business model doesn't work, it's never going to work. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think what these girls are doing, I think there's a huge difference between having a New York space and a Sydney
space.
But also what they've done is I think their marketing is probably really strong,
and their curation.
Whereas we took everything, but we had no
taking anything for anyone.
Exactly, and so we had absolutely no experience or contacts at all. Mm-hmm. We just went to a market and just contacted everyone. Anyway, so it was it was probably the best thing by far to have happened to me, even though at the time I thought it was the worst, because even though we failed, it kind of I wouldn't have started the Shopo without it. So it definitely led to where I am today, because when that business failed, I quit my job for it, and I was working in corporate finance at Ernst & Young. So I quit my job, and it was in the middle of the global financial crisis, so I couldn't get another job.
And we're talking probably quite a nice paying corporate job with room to grow.
Yeah.
Lots of rising
exciting
talent.
corporate ladder. Not really.
But some people aspire to that.
No, I know. But the problem is I was really bad at my job. So It wouldn't have been an easy climb.
Right.
So when I had no job, no business, I was like, okay, the only thing I can really do right now is to start another business.
But you had no job, no business, and a crap ton of debt.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's not forget that part.
So, and no money. But I was like, okay, so I can start a business now in accounting and finance, even though I'm trying to steer away from that, or I can do it in fashion and retail, which is because I had the little experience and the little contacts that I had made. Oh, thanks, Kelly.
Jane's got people to bring her coffee. How awesome is that?
Yes, it's pretty awesome.
So you had the experience, a little bit of experience.
Yeah, and even though it was so little, and the thing is, I would have never, if you asked me before this, like, oh, you're going to start a business, what would it be? And I would have never known that it was going to be in fashion or retail, because, even like in high school, like when I was working, I was always in hospitality. So
I get that, because I really don't like kids, and I opened a baby shop.
Yeah, right. And I think, but it's actually great because it gives you, you're not thinking.
I don't think you're so emotionally. You're
not emotionally attached to any designs, any products. You, I just love the marketing and business side of it, and then you really, I think, just you're thinking about it from the perspective of the customer, which I think is ideal.
Okay, so the big question is, you closed up the pop-up shop / market stall concept, $50,000 in debt. Now I'm going to start a new business. Where the freaking hell did you get the money from? Like, you got to buy inventory, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't even know how I had the balls to even just like move on from like not having money. So so $60,000 in debt, and like so half of it was like HECS, like so uni debt. So it wasn't like you have to pay back until you made money. So I wasn't making money, so that's fine. But so basically, at that point, I to start an online fashion store. I think that's one of the only business models you can kind of do this, because you can reinvest your profits. But anyway, so your two main costs with starting a business, an online retail fashion business, is inventory, which is huge, and marketing.
Yes.
So inventory, I was introduced to a supplier who would sell to me on consignment.
Wow. And that's this was 2010. Very rare. That is very rare these days, especially up front.
Yeah. And so I only even learnt about this term consignment from the first business, where we was buying from consignment from these emerging designers. And so that's why I kind of like even thought that, it was almost a bit naive to approach people with that. I think so, because... But the thing is, like, you don't know until you ask, and I'm so glad, and I'm someone who, like, just sometimes just don't ask. But I'm so glad, like, because all of a sudden, all I knew was consignment. It didn't seem like such a big deal, so I asked and found myself a supplier that would sell to me on consignment. So what this meant was that, I only had the 40 style product range when I first launched. And that was all from the one supplier? Was it the same brand by the one supplier?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
It was the same brand. And then, so she, but then I would have to go into her office every day and then to pick up anything that I needed to fulfill. So it's like a hassle. It's such a hassle. But, like, time I had a lot of back then, but money I didn't.
I had no job.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, as soon as I made enough money, I started to like just buy it outright. But that definitely like got me over that initial slump and allowed me to kind of like test the idea without having to sink more money into it.
Yes.
And then
because let's be honest, even in 2010, e-commerce was still very new. I mean, I started my first e-commerce business in 2008. And oh my god, I looked at that website through Wayback Time Machine the other day, and it was like, oh my god, how ugly is that?
Yeah.
How ugly was it? So even 2010, I know that 8-9 years later now, everything is mobile and it's beautiful and responsive and all these kinds of things. But back in 2010, that was like Web 1.0 in terms of e-commerce. So how did you even build the website?
So I googled how to use HTML. So
was it a Flash website?
No. Oh my god. So So with my first business, I was like, okay, well, I wanted to turn it into more of almost like a marketplace, online, make it an online store, and that way you've got high inventory turnover, and then you can like just have an infinite amount of like designers, which then would have gotten rid of that problem of having like crappy supply, like crappy designers, right? Because you can curate it. Anyway, so what was my point? I built a whole website. I took photos of like so many products. all the products we were holding back then, and then built the website on Wix, which at the time was Flash only.
Yeah.
Which is like not mobile compatible.
But do we even have Flash anymore? I don't
think
Flash
so.
Yeah, it's not a thing anymore.
And then which is lucky because then I learned that with Showpo, because I built this website overnight because I actually started with a business partner who I bought out after a year. But with this business partner, she already had a successful business, so I just really needed I needed her more than she needed me. So we kind of came up with Show Pony, which is what the business was called back then. We came up with the business idea and concept when we got drunk together one night over many glasses of red wine, and I came home hammered, and I was like, oh my god, let me just build the website because I don't want her to change her mind. I was like, it'll make it way more awkward for her to change her mind
if it's already
there. Yeah, and also that way I can prove to her that I'm a doer. So I built the website overnight, and it was on Big Cartel, which at the time was like $10-20 a month to host.
Right.
And then you just download a custom theme, which I don't think I even did that in the first website. You just started kind of like, it's like a Facebook page, like a MySpace page. I think that's where my HTML experience came from, like MySpace, and like just be like, okay, we'll just like update this color, just like you just
What
upload.
color was it? What color was the first website?
Oh, I think it was white, which is like simple white with a bit of like maybe like a blue, so it's Anyway, so. But I've done that before. I've actually found the website. It's still there. I think it's showponyfashion.bigcartel.com. It's so ugly.
We've got to go have a look at that.
But yeah, so that's another cost, and then postage and all of that. Postage and packaging. It just went out in the Australia Post bag.
Yeah. But
the postage is pay as you go, and I think everything else incidentals. I chucked on my credit card, racked up a pretty big debt. And then the next big marketing cost, the cost is of course marketing. And so I could not afford any of the traditional marketing methods, but it was actually such a blessing in disguise because it made me have to turn to Facebook, because
Instagram didn't exist back then, guys.
Will you believe it? Instagram didn't even exist. So then with Facebook, I knew the ins and outs of it so well because when I was working at I was just a Facebook addict, which is like pretty embarrassing at the time. Like everyone's like, oh, you was on Facebook.
But how cool was it when everybody saw your posts back then?
Yeah, like when it was organic traffic.
Yeah. I remember I think we were one of the first businesses on Facebook back in 2008, and it was like you would post something and everybody would see it.
Yeah. Oh god, that was good. The good times,
back in the day.
Golden years. Yeah, but back when I was working corporate, I used to always I'll have like an Excel spreadsheet open on one computer and or both computers, but I'll actually be on Facebook the whole time, and you just hit alt tab whenever someone walks past. So that's probably why I was like really terrible at my job in corporate finance.
Because you're too busy on Facebook.
I just was not paying attention at all. But then that made me such a Facebook expert, and I knew the ins and outs of it so well. So, and it was great because this is at a time when the traditional retail powerhouses, they didn't get it. They either they didn't know how, they didn't believe in social media, or they just simply didn't know how to do it.
I don't think they believe in e-commerce either. In Australia, let's be honest, our big department stores have only been online for about 3 years, and even now they still do it really badly.
They're still talking about mobile commerce. It's like, okay, if you're still talking about
mobile commerce,
just move on. Yeah,
move on.
And so I remember my first hit, hit of finding a growth hack and realizing the power of social media was when we had this modeling contest, where basically if you're we were asking our followers to enter if they wanted to be a model, because I was watching America's Next Top Model one night and I just got inspired because I'm like, oh, God,
they can do it.
Well, I'm like, a lot of girls want to model, it's so many girls' dreams. And so, and then also we're like, how if we can just invite our customers who are in our, all of our followers are in our demographic and would be our potential models, we'll get them to enter this modeling competition, and then they can and then what ended up happening was they enter themselves, they would make Facebook events, Facebook pages, Facebook groups to say vote for me, and send it to all of their friends, send it to their entire network, and then there'll be girls in their network that'll enter themselves, so it had this amazing ripple effect.
It was viral before viral was even a term.
It went viral, and then
do we feel so old in the land of e-commerce in that 10 years? We've seen everything.
So old when if you think about we think about like the coolest technology at one point that we knew was when you could burn CDs. The process of burning CDs is you've got to find a friend who had that CD that you wanted, bring it to like this person who can burn it.
We had
give
a CD
them
burner.
No, I know, but even before then, the process of like you can't even like you need to even find the original product to burn.
Yes,
like that wasn't the process in itself, you know.
Anyway, we are old in the age of technology. Okay.
Yeah. So it went from 3,000 followers to 20,000 in a month for free. It was amazing, and I was like, wow, like Facebook is awesome.
Yeah, Facebook is still awesome, guys.
Yeah. And so it's funny you say that because when Facebook organic traffic died, I did this interview, and then a passing comment became the headline of this newspaper article that said Facebook is out, Facebook is dead. And it's like Jane Lou says Facebook is dead, but then that's why I'm scared of making bold statements because I can be wrong many times. But as you start to integrate a paid strategy along with your organic. And also just doing more with video, like we've actually we were the most engaging brand on Facebook in Australia last year.
Oh,
it's like I'm like,
that's awesome.
Thank you, humble brag. But I was like, oops, I shouldn't have said it. It's dead. Anyway.
All right, so let's just quickly jump onto that. Is how do you? Because this is something I really struggle with. Is how do you engage your consumers? Let's just move you over a bit because you're getting
on the sun. I'm trying to use my headset for the clips of the sun, but I think it's
not working. Okay, let's just move. There you go. And Jane is not significantly short. Okay, it's just if you're watching the video, she's actually not that much shorter than me. It's just the angle of the camera. Okay, so how do you manage to? And I'm assuming nowadays you've got a team for this.
Yeah.
How do you manage to keep your customers engaged?
Well, so Kelly, who just bought me my coffee, is she heads up our content team. So it's so fun. We work together on like so many, just like she does so much like in terms of like for example, the blog, and in terms of like our product videos are just more exciting, and we do things that are like. We do things that are like not just there to sell. So for example, after this we're going to do an Insta story series of the A to Z of conferences. Just like, I mean, no one thinks like people don't think conferences are interesting, but we're like, first of all, we're like, let's just have some fun in between our sessions.
Yeah. And
like, let's just try it. Like, what if it is fun? And so, I think us doing content that isn't just there to sell and just to without that agenda, I think makes us really authentic, and I think that's the first thing to kind of engaging with the audience, because people can see through that straight away.
Yeah.
Of course we're still here to sell, so we still do, product videos, and people still love those because, if they're able to get something out of it, like if it's like aspirational, like it's like a fashion tutorial. So I think it's about just like, what's in it for me, for the customer. Yeah, for them.
While you've been in New York, have you done any Insta stories or shot fashion on the street?
No, not yet. I mean, I've just been at this conference.
I know, guys, if you come to a conference, it's literally you get here at 8 o'clock and you go home, I don't know, sometime maybe the next day.
Yeah. And then
if you don't go to was it basketball?
Yeah, basketball. And then there's drinks. I mean, it's a really long day.
It's a very, very long day. Okay, so 2010 you started. And then,
are you calling it Conchella?
Yes, I like that.
It is like a festival.
It is like a festival. And when you're Australian in an American conference, everybody wants a piece of you. I think they just love our accent. And when you're Jane, everybody even more wants a piece of you. She just gets invited to everything.
How are you going?
All right, so 2010 we started, and 2015 you were at $10 million turnover.
Yes.
5 years, no capital. How did, obviously you use social media, but did you just literally reinvest?
Sorry, I know I confirmed that number. I think it was actually 2014.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
I did confirm these numbers.
No, she didn't. I did actually just take those off a website. So within the first handful of years, you got to 10 million turnover.
Yeah.
Using social media as your main marketing. At any point, did there become a cash injection, or did you literally just reinvest profits?
Kept reinvesting profits. What was the most exciting thing is there was a point where there was 4 of us, and we had our first $1 million month.
What did you do to celebrate? Drink lots of wine?
Yeah, we got a hotel room and we bought Dom, and we were all like, don't spill it. This is so much money.
So, and has the business always been profitable? Because it's very easy. Like we see, if you're in Australia, big businesses like the Iconic, who people aspire to be, but don't actually realise the Iconic doesn't actually make any money yet. They literally run on venture capital.
Yeah.
You don't have venture capital. And
no.
I was saying yesterday in front of Jen, I really embarrassed myself at dinner the other night because I said to Jane, will you come on and talk about how you managed to prep your business for venture capital? And she was like, no. So, okay. She goes, because I don't have any. Yeah. Which to me is even more
I don't know how.
I don't know how. So has it always been profitable?
Yeah. I mean, at the start, it was definitely, just putting little things on credit cards. But yes, because I was just, I had no money. I got my parents to, loan me some money for the first business, which I lost all of, so there was no way. I was, actually pretending with Showpony, I was pretending to go to work.
No.
In my suit for the first 6 months.
So your parents thought that you had a job?
Yeah. So, oh my God, it's so ridiculous to think about it, because I was living at home, so I put on my suit, get the bus into the city with my mom, because she worked in the city.
You're living a lie.
I know, I was secret agent.
Secret double agent.
But so I couldn't ask them for money. Sometimes I just went back home. But some days, I went to the state library. Well, at the start, I'll go to a cafe with my laptop and then just, try and work on a business idea. And then, man, you're going to have to leave.
Yeah, you can only do the coffee thing for
you can't get that many
40 minutes.
Yeah. So, just went to the state library, which is where I used to study in high school. Anyway.
Okay, so I guess the next question I have for you is in terms of, obviously, even between 2010 and that handful of years later, e-commerce changed significantly. So what your original Big Cartel site, at what point did you merge that into something different?
Yeah. So we've always, what I believe in, it's always grow the business, the whole start with the MVP and then
that's
test
minimum viable product.
Yeah. And then just test and iterate at every stage as you grow. Just because you don't know what customers want, and you don't know the direction your business is going to go down. And if you have it all, if you can plan it, there's just no way. You can't just read a book and think you're going to be able to do the business the way you want. So Big Cartel was a business website I built that cost $20 a month to host.
Yeah.
And then I think we made up to $22,000 a month on that.
Wow.
And then with our next business, it was built on Big Commerce.
Right.
And so that cost $700 to build. We got pretty lucky. I think they undercharged us.
Yeah.
But that made $140,000 a month.
Wow.
And then, we went to Magento 1, which we are now, which is just expensive. But
Magento is awesome.
We make a lot.
We talked about this. Jen and
I
went
to the basketball with Magento. I should they're great.
Actually, Jen yesterday and I talked about this. Whether do you start as you mean? And this is, I guess, this is a great question. Do you start as you mean to continue? So do you start out on something as robust as Magento, which is amazing?
Definitely not.
But takes a lot of bandwidth, requires... I love Magento, but it's not for everyone. To me, it's not for the starter. Do you start as you mean to continue, or do you start with MVP and just go, at some point, I'm going to take a chunk of cash to move up to the next
I think you start with an MVP, and it depends. Look, if you go to an incubator and go through an incubator and then they give you a lot of money, then don't fuck around with their money and start too small,
make something good.
Yeah, because there is an opportunity cost to your time if you're just going to be too slow about it. That's
and let's be honest, changing a website is very costly.
But these days there's amazing, I think even with I don't know, I think maybe Shopify or WooCommerce, there's a lot of more easy websites you can just play around with. Yes, if you're going to start your own retail business, I would just learn some basic is it coding? I don't know. No. Basic coding.
Just grab Shopify.
Yeah.
It gives you a pretty website.
Exactly. Just do that. Get something pre-made. And then just test that, because ultimately it's about whether your product will sell and whether you have you are able to market your products at a lower cost, at a cost of acquisition lower than your contribution margin.
Yeah.
So that's kind of so there's the product element of it, which you have or you don't. But then I think that's the business, because I think operations anyone can kind of figure out. Not to say operations isn't hard, but you will figure it out. I don't think that's the make or break. I think the make or break is whether you can market your products at a low enough cost to make the business viable.
So what do you think that you implemented e-commerce wise to get from 10 million to, now that was 10 million approximately Australian to 60 million US, because you're now in 100 countries globally. And I would love, we don't have enough time, but I would love to talk to you about how you've managed to personalize that and adapt to different markets. But let's just go back to the story here. So what do you think you implemented tech-wise to get you from 10 million to 60 million to your 100 million that you hope to do in 2020?
Tech-wise?
Yeah.
God, okay. So, I mean, I think one of the great things is to have brought it in-house, which I don't think you can do it too soon, because of the cost of it, and also just to find a great CTO that's reliable. When you're a smaller business, you won't have able to get the quality that you can.
Yeah.
And so I think just having someone in-house build out new products is great. And then I think choosing the right platform is important as well, I guess. And I think for us, it's just been it's the website in itself. And I think being really far out. What's the word when you're
Dynamic? She's waving your hands around. Dynamic.
Responsive. Is it responsive? You can make your website go in any size. Responsive. Oh my god, sorry. I'm drinking my coffee and so God. Now everyone's why have I just spent half an hour listening to this idiot? Yes, responsive. And I think that was one of the, it sounds really obvious, which is why, but this is 4 years ago, we were we have to be mobile first.
I remember
I'm talking about it now. Yeah.
I remember paying someone $200 to develop a mobile version of my site, because I remember, we were back on OzCommerce back then, and I remember looking at the data and seeing that 70% of my orders were coming from a mobile device.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, but it's so bad on a phone. And so I remember paying $200 or $300 for someone to build us an app, and it was really ugly. It literally had little boxes that you dropped down with the product. But our sales went up significantly when people could buy so much easily on phone. And now it's a given, right?
Yeah.
Now it's, they threw some numbers around yesterday, but something 60% of purchases are done on mobile devices.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we went from BigCommerce, Big Cartel, BigCommerce, Magento, with using an agency. So I think we had a really great agency, but what the agency does is every time you make a request, they will just add a plugin on top of your website. So it got to a point where we went in-house, we had 40 plugins.
Magento takes a lot of bandwidth at the best of times, and then you've just bloated it out.
So we would have, and so our in-house CTO did a rebuild of the site, and then since then, no downtime, and he made the website fully responsive. So that was I think the first huge shift. And then of course we started to develop different features, which I'm not gonna list them for you with now. But then I think the next big thing was developing our app, which has taken so much longer than anticipated. But I think that's something to be expected in with tech things in general. And so, but it's a really cool product now. We've just launched visual app search, so you can take a photo, which is
yesterday.
So great for it's so great for our customers, because they actually for them it's I want to see this from an influencer. It's not tagged, or they just see a picture lying on Pinterest. Screenshot, send it up.
Upload it up, and it says this is the product that you're looking for. That was amazing. How many, now that you've got the app, what percentage of sales do you have versus on desktop versus mobile versus app?
I think the app is growing-ish to probably 10 and growing. We need better analytics. But yeah.
And I'm just curious, because the app's quite reasonably new, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite new. Yeah.
I was just curious to see, and is mobile mobile sales higher than
way higher, but it's been higher. That's why, you know, as I said, going to these conferences, everyone's like mobile first. I'm like, it's been, we started thinking mobile first like 5 years ago, and then like that was when we already had more traffic, and then like 3 or 4 years ago we started already having more mobile sales. And it's so our biggest challenge, because we knew that mobile is where it's at, and we also know that international is where it's at. So our biggest two stats that we would constantly look at is the conversion rate on our mobile side, and our conversion rate on our US side, because those are the numbers that we want to improve.
And so tell me just quickly then, what are you implementing? You sort of alluded to this before, but what are you implementing online? Because a lot of people think that upselling and cross-selling and, you know, basically just increasing the average order value can be really difficult if you're not seeing somebody in person.
Yeah.
So what sort of things have you implemented to increase your average order value?
Yeah, so we work, we work with our, what do you call it? Our CRM system also has AI features with our website, so it has a product recommendation engine, but I think there's still a lot of room for improvement with what we can do.
Do you do a pop-up where it recommends something, or you just have the...
No, it's at the bottom.
It's at the bottom.
But I think we want to do a lot more with add-ons like the checkout page, even post-checkout, even transactional emails.
Post-purchase upsell is my number one thing.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. It's been on my to-do. It's on the list. That's the problem. We have this huge list of things to do, and it just never. It hasn't. It's yet to make the cut. Mm-hmm. But our post-purchase page is just the stuff on there is pretty useless. Anyway,
so tell me then. Before we wrap up, tell me, what do you think changed in your mindset to get from that, working at the State Library, thinking mum and dad thinking you're at work, to being here now, the CEO of a global fashion company, turning over 60 million. What do you think has changed in your mindset from there to where you are now?
I think something that's really, I think it's your, you definitely, you're in the fight or flight mentality back then, and now you think a lot more big picture. You think about all the stakeholders. You realize that you have a certain responsibility with the amount of followers that we have, the customers we work with, the people that we employ. We have over 150 staff where we are impacting their livelihood and their families. So it's all that responsibility. And then also I think what's really helped me grow is being able to trust people. And I think that's when you really only start to trust people when you have the experience of working with great people. Yeah. And I think once you have that, and then you get better at filtering out the good from the crap, that's how really you grow a business. Because, back then, it's great. I'm working my butt off, and it's just me. And now I'm here in New York, but then I've got 149 other people working their butt off back home, and it's amazing.
So what do you find your role is now? Do you feel like you need to be in the tech part, you need to be in the recruitment part, or do you what do you do on a
What do you do? I know. Honestly, people ask me
what is your key role on a day-to-day basis?
I ask myself that all the time. I think that I do some things that cannot be done by other people. I guess I do a lot of the PR stuff. Yeah. We do have a PR team, but I think you are the face of the brand. Because I'm not shy about speaking to speaking to people. I think that's a point of difference for us, and we milk it. Yeah. And then also I think creating content. I love that, and I think that's also a point of difference for us. So I get really involved with that as well. But I think and then our social media. So I'm really involved with our social media team, and so I'm really lucky I get to pick and choose what I want, because things that I'm not really great at, I've hired other people, a lot more people in to fill in those spots. Yeah. And I think just sitting across meetings, so I'll be in a lot of the creative concepts meetings, and then just executive team-wide meetings. And just because it's funny because everyone, because a lot of people are they're great at what they do, but it's it becomes siloed, and you sometimes need and we have a few people that are across, but sometimes the more eyeballs the better. So just having people that to have kind of look across all the different departments of the business.
Yeah. And I think what you've done is really given that CEO role, like I tell a lot of independent businesses that they have to move from that shopkeeper mindset, like it's my job to sell the stock, and it's my job to do the media, and it's my job to do the inventory, and all those sorts of things, to actually, when you get your business to a level, you can do the thing you really love doing, and that could be social, or that could be product R&D, it could be whatever it is, but you don't have to be doing everything. And if you can actually get your headspace out of...
Well, no, that's actually, sorry, you've actually... So I think the thing is the main mentality shift is back then you used to think that you're doing a great job with the more that you're doing stuff. That's when you're hardworking, when you're busy you've got outputs and you've made a difference, you've done something. But now it's really about leading. And so, you know, a great leader, like, and the thing is, we have great leaders at work that are just really inspiring their team to do their best jobs, and you know they're not, and they themselves are not doing that much, and I'm like, I need to actually be more like them, because I don't know, like I just should spend more time. I call myself the lazy CEO, but I sometimes I'm like doing stuff, I'm like, no, this should be delegated, so I actually need to like slap myself on the wrist and make myself put it down, and then like take the time to coach someone else to do it. And so anyway, I'm still getting there.
You're still an active participant in the business.
And the best thing is like, and I do go overseas a lot for work and for travel, like for pleasure.
Do you fly business or first?
I don't pay for business first because I have an Amex, and I accrue a lot of points.
I flew first on points.
And I've flown a suite before as well. It's amazing. So I'm not like, I feel like I'm not like.
No, this is our non-financial advice hack. Is if you put every business thing on an Amex, you can fly pretty much anywhere in the world, business or first.
Yes, and the best thing is,
it cost me $120 to get here in first class.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing is with like your Facebook and Google ads, because most things they charge a premium for Amex. Not in the States, but they do in Australia. But your ads, which is probably one of your biggest spends, they don't charge a fee, so it's great.
It's great,
But like every time I go overseas, I actually like, it helps me detach myself and like have to give, like, delegate more. So so I'm in a delegation process right now.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so last question, wrapping this all up, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for
sharing
having me.
all of this. It is possible, guys. You can go from garage to is 100 million 9 figures?
Yes.
Yes. To almost 9 figures, completely organically. But what do you wish somebody would have told you along the way?
Oh, okay. Just to like back yourself more. I think I would have it's hard to know because I spent a lot of time over the last 8.5 years like in self-doubt and just like having to a lot of time and energy went to waste by just not having that confidence and just like overthinking things. But maybe that's good because you need to have that like to check yourself, otherwise so it's hard to say, but I think they definitely wasted a lot of time just being like, I don't know.
I think and also to back yourself, you need to surround yourself with great people.
Definitely. I think I look at the people that I've got in my life. Right? They say like you're the product of the 5 people around you, and I'm like, I can truly say that it's like it's a compliment. It's a great thing. I'm surrounded by great people.
That's awesome. Okay, so if people go to showpo.com, will they get geolocated?
Yes, they will.
Awesome. Okay, so go to showpo.com, check out Jane's story.
Thank you.
And obviously buy some amazing fashion.
Yes.
Check out the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where we interview fantastic people like Jane and marketer Neil Patel. We have amazing people from all over the industries that can help you bring your business more money and more sales. And in terms of stock, we know that we have to be turning over stock all the time, right? So if you have any old stock that you need to get rid of, I've got a great free download that shows you 9 ways that you can get rid of stock without having a sale, and you can grab that over at selinaknight.com/NRF. Bye from New York. See ya.